that must just be.
It's really interesting when you look at, because you go to this project, and it's just a project, it's an RFP, and you put it together, and it's a client, and you're arguing with each other over terms and conditions of the scope and all that stuff, and you get the bond, you do this whole elaborate process, and you start working. It's just a job, and then, I was fortunate enough that I got to go out there and just take a look at it, and, the project itself is amazing and interesting and very complex, and I could not be more proud of our group, because they just did a great job. But to be able to walk through the dam,
Yeah.
and go, and you look on the wall, and they've got the pictures of these donkey mules that they were, steam mules that are running, these granite blocks, because they brought over they had to literally bring over guys from Italy to help carve, because the granite was, I think, locally sourced, but they needed artisans to be able to build the blocks, and you just see the ingenuity of building a 120-foot high granite block dam that has stood the test of time, and you're going, with what they had at their utility, you're like, holy cow, this is pretty impressive.
That is something.
Yeah, and and again, that's one project, and there's or it's an old boat, that you've working on the Kalakala, or whatever it is. There's these old connections and stories behind these that you just it's not just a job. It's I'm being selfish when I say it's not a bunch of binary code gigabytes. It's like you lay your hands on it, and you're like, wow, this is the Golden Gate Bridge, or this is this is a boat that served in World War II, and or it has a connection to it's been around for 120 years. So it's those are the parts of it that kind of make those connections a little more deep than it's just a job.
Yep. I'm always point out to my daughters, I say, see that, what you look at? That's history.
Yeah.
You're looking at one of the most amazing, rare things ever. You won't see anything like that. More than just, there's the story behind it.
Right.
Artisans had to come across the world to
just to build this dam.
Yeah.
That we're just, punching a hole through it so we can put a new valve in, but it's 100 years old, and I remember walking down the walkway, the height of the tunnel, because you're walking down through it, the railings just a little bit lower than you expect, and the height is because people aren't 6 foot tall, and the steps are, there's no code steps, and there's water running down the sides of it, because it's not, it's not completely, there's a little bit of intrusion here or there, and you think about it and you go, how did they build this? I mean, how did they really build this? I mean, I looked at the pictures you built, and we had a chance to do a project on another really, really big project. Mike Langan, who again is the VP of Marine Construction and an alumni of UW. We did this project on the New York City Delaware Aqueduct system that was built in the 30s. It was responsible for 90% of the water to Manhattan comes from the Delaware Aqueduct, and we did this 700-foot dive in a shaft for 4 or 5 years, which is, and there, if you go to our website, there's a little story on it. It's really neat. But again, one of the very interesting pieces was the age of this, and they had this tunnel. It's like 20 foot diameter that ran, hundreds of feet below the surface. It was all dry, just upland New York ran down. And they had these relief shafts that if there was ever a collapse, where does all that energy go? And so they have these relief shafts every couple of miles. And we had to dive in one of the shafts. The shaft's down the sides, the tunnel's right here, the shaft's down the side, and then there's this little connector piece called the drift. So it's 700 feet down right next to the Hudson is where we were, in this little nondescript brick building with a 13-foot diameter shaft that goes down 700 feet into the ground. And we do saturation dive to go down there, and then they go in this little drift that's like, just maybe 2 archways of a door, 100 feet, and then you get to this bronze door that's basically a door that goes to be able to go into the main tunnel. So they have to shut off the water because obviously it'd be flowing. When we get to the door, there's a swastika on the door, and you're like, well, what is? And of course, you find out at the time that some of the best bronze work in the world was done by the Germans in the early 30s, and this bronze door was built by Germany, or by Germans. Yeah. And here you are in the United States, and you kind of roll, the diver goes up, and here's this bronze door, and here's this swastika on the side. And you just go, and again, it's one of those things where you go, well, there's this interesting, so why is that? And you find out, and you read a little bit about how the whole aqueduct was built, and all the, and it's just an interesting connection to the past,
Mhm.
that you don't, that occurs every once in a while, so. kind of
That's
interesting.
phenomenal.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
That's phenomenal.
It's pretty wild. Well, what else can I tell you?
Do you have, as a company, interactions with the UW? Do you ever go, hey, applied physics lab, we're working on some, or anything like, does that ever happen?
Not as often as it probably should. I mean, what we find is that we work with companies like
Mhm.
like Ocean Gate that
Mhm.
does some work there. Not that much. No, I'm sorry to say we don't. I wish we did.
Yeah, no, I just, because I'm not familiar with it, so I don't know.
There's not a lot of, other than, we've got guys who
Yeah.
go watch the football games. And
Yeah.
we can live through that, but
Okay, yeah.
not that much connection. But we do have some people who've gone, one of the things is, one of the things we do find for the university is that when we're trying, again, predominantly because it is kind of a workman-like blue-collar
Sure,
trade.
yeah.
People get into it, including myself. Like I'm a liberal arts major, so I
Yeah.
didn't go to business school per se. We've actually had some guys that go back for certificate programs, and,
Mhm.
and for one of our dive ops manager here, who's a diver, actually went back and got his master's in marine affairs from UW.
Oh,
So-
interesting.
So the connectivity with the school,
Yeah.
it's because of its proximity to where we
Mhm.
work, is kind of nice, where we can actually look towards some certification opportunities, and really when we're trying to get people into some specific skill sets,
Mhm.
usually some sort of leadership or management.
Sure.
Because as we've all grown up, it's it's not just OJT that it is
Yeah.
a learned skill.
Sure.
We all have to work on that. But yeah, but other than that, there's not a whole lot of
Sure.
other than we have some people that have graduated from
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We're open to suggestions though.
Oh, sure. 'Cause, well, yeah, so I was just thinking like with that, or the School of Marine Fisheries, or, and
Yeah.
oceanography was already, involvement with that. And then now there's this big push they're doing to formalize that, how do we take research out of the university, turn them into companies,
Right.
invent new gizmos and make things better, so.
Yeah.
And I hadn't heard of anything like this being involved with them, and
I think there is, as there's been a real push. I mean, there's no question that the rise of technology has been a benefit to the maritime industry, and I think there's a lot of interesting opportunities out there with unmanned technology specifically,
Mhm.
especially as you're mapping the ocean bottom and I mean, there's just a lot of connectivity there, and it seems like the UW would be a hotbed for that. It doesn't have to necessarily be in medicine or
sure, yeah.
when they say tech,
Yeah.
I think like internet, but I mean like more like real technology, and that's one of the connection with Ocean Gate is they were putting together some like robotics and
Yeah.
some other things that you can manipulate underwater under high pressure environments and trying to deal with functionality issues.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of really leading, forward-leaning or leading-edge technologies that are mapping the seafloor. And
Oh, yeah, that's right. The
It's
guy,
just-
John Delaney, he was
Yeah.
running the whole,
it's a huge, it's amazing, when we think about all the efforts we've
yeah,
put to send people to the moon and what we've learned about outer space. It's we've got this huge resource that's like much closer
yeah,
that we know relatively little about. If something drops to 4,000 feet in the water, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind.
yeah,
But it's right in our backyard. So
exactly. So you grew up in Seattle?
I grew up in Mukilteo. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm not a true Seattleite. I
No,
grew up just north. I grew up in Mukilteo when it was still a sleepy little farm community.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
And did you think of going to college anywhere else?
No, oddly enough, I was thinking about that because I've got 3 boys and my oldest is
Oh,
he's a freshman, and so and I trying to not necessarily push him to college because I think
Sure.
there's plenty of vocations out there that don't require that, but I don't remember. I mean, I kind of always wanted to go to the U.
Mhm.
I just figured it was close. I didn't have the same. Again, back to the conversation we had earlier. I don't recall myself saying, "Oh, I want to move out of state," or I was never going to
Yeah.
go to Pullman.
Yeah.
But I don't remember saying I wanted to go to California or anything else. So, and a few of my friends, I graduated from Mariner High School up in Everett, and it was just, always. I think I always wanted to go to the U, and I had a great experience there. I mean,
Did you really?
I really, I get some grief about being a liberal arts major, but for me, you know, number one, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I think I was pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And at least it got me through. I didn't fail out.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, one of the most important parts was, you know, I find that to be, it's not about what you learn. At least for me, it wasn't. You know, I think it created a wonderful foundation for me for learning. Ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
To be an advocate for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And to really kind of learn responsibility. But I had a great time there. I loved my history teachers, loved my political science teachers. I was fortunate enough to take a couple of classes from John Bridgman.
Oh, okay. I was just going to ask.
I mean, that guy, he was, and when he passed away a couple of years ago, I felt terrible because he was just such an enigmatic, you know, professor. I remember taking History 101. It was just, you know, it's like 800 people in the class, and his ability to kind of capture your attention was amazing. And then I remember my wife, who also graduated from UW. She was a couple of years behind me in graduation. So I remember telling her, "You got to take a class with this guy," and she loved him. And then I also after I graduated, went to he had a couple of like seminars or things that he'd do, and he did one on World War II and some other stuff. And I went with my mom, brought my mom down, and he was just such a character.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him in the halls, and I called him a couple of times to go into his office, and I didn't even have a question. It was just really to get him rattling.
Yeah.
And so, but he was neat. I just had a great. I have fond memories of you know, because I was a liberal arts major. I bounced in the quad all the time. All my classes were right there in the old heart of the campus, and I just have fond memories. I love, and I'm a season ticket holder to the Huskies, so I love the opportunity. Yeah, for a long time, and you know, I enjoy taking. I have 3 boys, and so you know, one of an annual trip for me is being able to walk down in the fall when it's crisp and walk down through the Red Square and Tastrom Heller Fountain and go to the stadium and have the kids kind of look at all these huge old buildings and what does it mean? And you point out, well, that's Sue's little library. That's where I used to go in here. And if we can, you know, you can't quite get in quite as readily as you used to, but you know, you can get in and I go, here's the reading room, graduate reading room, and I used to sit over here and you know, you have to whisper. What's up? I'm heading to Westport. Oh, really? All right, I'll give you a shout.
Okay, I just gonna let you know. So,
how's it going?
It's actually going well.
Okay.
But the crews, like, some of them are just flat out sick. And
sick.
I'm worried Chris is about to fall over. So.
All right. Yeah, I'll give you a call.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for the heads up, David. Salvage in Westport.
Oh.
Yeah, David is he's our vice president of casualty response, so he's the guy who all the exciting stuff. So. Yeah, he happens to be in town, and we've got a fishing boat that's rolled over down in Westport, and it sounds like a cruise.
Wow.
They've been there for a couple of days, and
Sure.
when they start to wilt and get sick, that's a problem. Especially again for continuity's sake.
Yeah.
But anyways, he's gonna go down and probably pick the thing up, shake the water out of it, and finish up the project. But
How
so
big was?
my oldest is 15, but 15, 12, and 9. And then I was and again, there's a lot of connection to UW from the football program, only because when I was a freshman, that's when they went down and were national champions in '92.
Yeah.
So I was in a fraternity, and so a bunch of us went down to see the Rose Bowl, and that was a blast. And so I've now go to most of the home games with my dad. My dad and my brother. I have a brother, and I go on every one of my boys. So that's a real special time.
Oh, that sounds like it.
But again, walking through the campus is just, it brings back a lot of memories. I mean, just running around there, trying to, you know, collectively put together your time and manage what seemed to be an insurmountable amount of work.
Yeah.
But it was great. I revere that time. I get kind of crazy, and again, I get real nostalgic in a hurry when I step on campus.
Oh, I can imagine.
I'm sure like all of us do.
Oh, yeah.
Just, you know, it's a pretty powerful feeling. Just and it's neat to see it changing, you know, and growing up. But it's still neat to see some of the old buildings, I think they're refurbishing Denny and you know, it's kind of the new law school is a beautiful addition. That's been there for a while, but going to the Burke Museum and stuff, there's still a lot of connection.
And now you say the new Burke is expanding.
Yeah,
crazy,
exactly.
So
Yeah, it's exciting. So it's neat to see, again, much like the city, it's neat to see the university, staying relevant and I think the new endowment program and that's a big effort they're putting forward. But you know what? It's much like the maritime industry.
Mm-hmm.
That university is an important cog in this region, and sometimes people forget the importance of and the impact it has on the region, whether it's in developing professionals or whether it's investing in the region or promoting the region. It's a pretty special place.
Yeah. And when you were there, did you live at a fraternity house?
Yeah, I lived in a fraternity right across the street. Yep,
Uh-huh.
lived right across the entrance. So that was I lived there for 3 years, and then we lived in Roosevelt actually. That's right, we lived in Roosevelt, which was a blast because it was close enough for you to just catch a quick bus down.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Worked in the area, just making ends meet to try.
Part-time job.
Yeah. Worked at a restaurant to have some spending cash with beer money, and it's a great time. Lots of stories. I wish I would have kept a journal.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I really do. I journal now when I take trips, just more to kind of capture and remind myself. And it's something that I remember when I was growing up. I had a friend who did a little bit of that. I was always, I kind of looked at her like, wow, why would you do that? And it seemed very foreign to me. And her dad did it as well, and I thought that was bizarre. And I don't do it quite that I'm not that dedicated, but I do a travel one because I've been able to travel quite a bit in the last 10 or 15 years, and so that's neat to go back. And I wish desperately that I would have kept better notes in college, because it was just a lot of good times.
Yeah.
All the wonderful things and all the unmentionable things.
Oh,
all the things that really form who you are, as an adult. But yeah, it was